Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Arcidia Saores. I'm Vice President of the 4.1000 Initiative, and it's really a great pleasure to be chairing this meeting today. We have some really great speakers for the high-level segment lined up, and it's really an honor to be with you. It's really early here. I'm drinking some coffee. I'm in Mexico, and it's still such an honor that it doesn't matter how early it is. So we got a very interesting and very fun agenda. So bear with us. It's going to be about 2 hours and 15 minutes long. And this is the forum for the high-level segment for the 4.1000 Initiative. Our topic for this year is soil health and soil organic carbon, measure, assess for scaling up good practices. So I would like to start this inaugural session, the high-level segment, by the welcoming speech by Monsieur Stéphane Le Foll, President of the International 4.1000 Initiative, President of Le Mans Métropole, and former French Minister of Agriculture of France from 2012 to 2017. So, Stéphane, the floor is yours.
Merci et bonjour à Ercilia. So, Minister and dear friends, once again this year I have the privilege and the pleasure to opening the 4 per 1000 Initiative Day, not on the edges of climate convention as is tradition, but only online for budgetary reason, among other reasons. You know the situation in Azerbaijan. The virtual format, which was also ours in 2020 during the COVID pandemic, will nonetheless enable us to share, extend, and discuss at our nights forums of partners and tens consortium of members of our initiative. However, we will not depart from the tradition of opening the Partners Forum with a high-level segment, during which personality representing members, partners, and even friends will take the floor to present their activities, vision in the context of the initiative's objectives. This year, the general theme of 4 per 1000 Day is soil health and soil organic carbon, measuring, assessing, and scaling up best practices. This is a major topic, as it is important to measure as precisely as possible changes in soil organic matters and carbon levels as a function of the practices implemented by farmers under given agro-pedoclimatic conditions. Science has a major role to play in this work of understanding the intimate mechanism of soils as well as measurement, as is one of the major conditions for serious access to the carbon market. This issue of MRV and the harmonization of the measurement of assessment methods, whether sensor, the use of satellite data or modeling, is central to several objectives of the 2050 strategic plan. All the stakeholders involved in the 4 per 1000 initiative must mobilize to ensure that reliable and affordable tools are available as soon as possible to assess the work carried out by farmers on their soils. We need this tool to help agriculture and forestry play an ever greater role in the fight against climate change, biodiversity erosion, desertification, and food and security. Unfortunately, I can't stay for the whole online meeting, but I want to open this annual event, which is so important for our community. I'm sure that Cecilia Saores, our Vice President, I'm very pleased to meet you, will be able to guide your work with keenness and efficiency. Before handing over to her, I would like to thank her warmly on my behalf and that of Ibrahim Mayaki, the second Vice President, for agreeing to chair the 8th day of 4 per thousand initiative, which will take place over 2 days, today and tomorrow, to take account to the possibility of connecting to Zoom from a wide range of time zone. Dear Cecilia Saures, I'd like to hand you over the floor and the chairmanship. Et bravo.
Merci, Stéphane. Thank you so much. Thank you for your very motivational words. And it's an absolute honor. And thank you for the trust that you've relied upon me to chair this meeting. And again, I'm delighted to be here. And we have a series of really interesting speeches coming over. Paul, if you allow me, I would like to briefly introduce the first presenter, which is Ms. Annie Genevard, Minister of Agriculture, Food Sovereignty and Forestry of the French Republic. So if we are ready, we would like to hear from Madame Annie Genevard. Merci Stéphane, and please go ahead.
Mesdames et messieurs les présidents, mesdames et messieurs, monsieur le secrétaire général, cher Paul Lu, je regrette de ne pas pouvoir être parmi vous à l'occasion de cette 8e journée annuelle de l'initiative 4 pour 1000. Je tenais néanmoins à m'adresser à vous pour rappeler l'attachement de la France à cette initiative qui promeut une agriculture productive et durable pour répondre aux enjeux auxquels les systèmes alimentaires sont confrontés. Comme vous le savez, la France soutient l'initiative 4 pour 1000 depuis son lancement en 2015 à l'occasion de la COP 21 et de l'adoption de l'accord de Paris. En effet, la santé des sols est un levier indispensable pour maintenir ceux-ci en bonnes conditions de production afin d'assurer à la fois le présent et l'avenir de la production agricole et alimentaire, comme pour répondre aux enjeux climatiques et de biodiversité. À ce titre, je me réjouis de célébrer aujourd'hui le 10e anniversaire de cette initiative. 10 années de réussite grâce aux actions des acteurs qui ont rejoint cette initiative pour mieux comprendre et préserver la santé des sols agricoles. Malgré les réussites et les avancées, nous savons, mesdames et messieurs, nous savons tous que le chemin est encore long. La dégradation des sols impacte les rendements agricoles de manière variable, suivant les pays et les régions, tout comme les épisodes de sécheresse et d'inondation liés au changement climatique. Cette évolution défavorable met en péril la sécurité alimentaire de tous. C'est pourquoi il est important de se donner les moyens de mettre en œuvre les solutions éprouvées scientifiquement et les pratiques agricoles qui préservent le capital vivant du sol. Ces approches de gestion durable des terres n'en sont pas moins innovantes et productives. Mon ministère déploie aussi des politiques en faveur de ces pratiques favorisant la santé des sols, notamment à travers la stratégie nationale sur les protéines végétales. Cette stratégie vise à soutenir le développement de filières répondant à des normes de production respectueuses des écosystèmes, ambition que la France porte également au niveau de l'Union européenne. Par ailleurs, je voudrais ici souligner la culture des légumineuses. Elle joue en effet un rôle clé en matière de la biodiversité, tout en limitant l'utilisation d'intrants. Grâce à leur capacité à fixer l'azote de l'air, ces cultures contribuent à la durabilité et à la productivité des sols et donc des cultures. Il convient également de continuer à mieux évaluer la santé des sols et à rechercher des solutions pour l'améliorer. À ce titre, l'action 4 pour 1000 apporte sa contribution via le comité scientifique et technique et les instituts de recherche qui en sont membres. Cette contribution au renforcement et à l'amélioration des connaissances est essentielle pour convaincre un nombre sans cesse croissant d'acteurs à rejoindre le projet et à diffuser les bonnes pratiques agricoles. S'agissant de l'évaluation de la santé des sols, je souhaite rappeler le travail mené par l'initiative 4 pour 1000 en lien avec l'organisation par la FAO, grâce au soutien de la France, par l'intégration d'indicateurs sur la santé des sols au sein de plusieurs outils utilisés par la FAO et ses partenaires. La France est ainsi fière de soutenir l'initiative 4 pour 1000. Celle-ci engage les acteurs dans une transition vers une agriculture productive, durable, résiliente, fondée sur une gestion adaptée des terres et des sols, créatrice d'emplois et de revenus, et donc porteuse d'avenir et d'attractivité pour les jeunes. Dès lors, la France invite les acteurs qui n'ont pas encore rejoint cette initiative à le faire. Je vous souhaite en tout cas de très bons travaux et des échanges fructueux. Je vous remercie.
And yes, we need to encourage more and more stakeholders to join the initiative. We have another great video coming. It's Dr. Ophelia Nick, Parliamentary Secretary of State, Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture of Germany.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year is the first year on record in which global average temperatures have risen above the 1.5 degrees mark. The need to tackle the climate crisis is more urgent than ever before. At the same time, the pressure on global food security is immense due to the effect of both climate change and conflicts and wars in many regions. For almost 10 years now, the international 4 per 1000 initiative has been one of our central allies in addressing these challenges and advocating for healthy, carbon-rich soils. We are proud to have been a member of the initiative since the beginning, because, as we all know, healthy soils can unfold their full potential for climate change mitigation and adaptation, and they are the basis for food security and biodiversity. The German Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture supports this approach by many means, for instance, by supporting organic farming and by establishing demonstration farms for soil-friendly farming. It is very promising that soils have been receiving increased attention in international negotiations during recent years. Nevertheless, the real work has to be implemented on the ground, and we can only move forward if all stakeholder groups collaborate closely. We need the farmers to work the land and produce our food. We need science and traditional knowledge to help farmers decide on the most effective and sustainable management practices. We need the right enabling conditions at policy level and the engagement of civil society to support the transition. With the aim of jointly elaborating regional pathways, one central approach of the 4 per 1000 initiative is to bring all stakeholders together at regional level to discuss current developments and to better understand each other's needs. We are happy to announce that our Federal Ministry of Food and Agriculture is planning to hold such a multi-stakeholder meeting on soil health and soil organic carbon in temperate climates in Berlin next year. So let me close by expressing my sincere gratitude to the initiatives and to all its members and partners for their common engagement for soils. We are looking forward to continuing to work together with you and to seeing you in the coming year.
Thank you, Dr. Ophelia Nick. And thank you for your words and the importance of bringing all stakeholders together. We'll go to the next presentation if technology allows us. This will be Ms. Elena Busutil, Director General for Agricultural Production and Markets, on behalf of Mr. Luis Planas Puchades, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food of the Kingdom of Spain. So we'll hear Elena Busutil next.
Dear colleagues and friends of the 4 per 1000 initiative, it is an honor to confirm Spain's continued support to this initiative since its foundation and to join you in celebrating the 8th day of this initiative with the title Soil Health and Soil Organic Carbon, Measuring and Evaluating to Scale Up Good Practices. Healthy soils with a high organic matter content are the basis for ensuring food security. The UN estimated that by 2050 there will be almost 10 billion people living in our planet. FAO estimated that 1/3 of all soils are degraded due to erosion, sealing, salinization, organic matter and nutrient depletion, acidification, pollution, and other processes caused by non-sustainable soil management practices, leading to a gradual decline in the amount of arable land per person. In any case, there are scientific-based agricultural practices that allow us to face this global challenge with confidence. It is everyone's task to ensure that they are implemented across the entire agricultural area. This situation demonstrates the need to promote good agricultural practices and to apply correct measurement methods to assess soil health, as well as recommendations to facilitate their correct implementation. In Spain, the recent designation of the Laboratorio Agroambiental as the National Reference Laboratory for the Analysis of Agricultural Soil Fertility aims to unify the analysis, comparison, and comprehension of agricultural soils. It is a first step towards an official network of labs with the objective is to reach a consensus on criteria and harmonizing methodologies and thus adopt the necessary standards to obtain reliable, comparable, and equivalent results. The good performance of this network will guarantee a high-quality service at the national level to farmers who require these soil analysis. The availability of consistent values by means of reliable measurements of the carbon absorbed in our agricultural soils will allow us to know what is the starting point of our soil and what is it needs, better design our policies on soil and evaluate how it performs across the country, bearing in mind that these are long-term actions. In accordance with the agreement between the Spanish Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food and the scientific organism INEA-CSIC, a plan has been set up to monitor the impact of CAP measures on carbon stocks. The analysis of carbon content in plots with maximum contrasts, for example, in body crops with or without cover crops, has started this year. The full analysis of 16,000 agricultural plots is scheduled for completion in 2029. Finally, the role of the international 4/1000 initiative in supporting research and the creation of networks that enable the exchange of information and collaboration between scientific bodies, as well as communicating to society the role of soil in feeding itself and future generations, should be highlighted. We must continue to motivate the different actors who have direct or indirect impact on soil health and raise awareness of the importance of soil conservation. I would like to finish my intervention wishing you all a very productive day ahead, and thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Madame Elena Musutil, for the good wishes for today. And yes, we have an inspirational presentation coming up to get us energized throughout our day. This is an inspirational presentation by Mr. Marc-André Sellos, professor and biologist from the MHN, which is the National Museum of Natural History from Paris, France. So let's hear Monsieur Sellos, please.
I'm very sorry I cannot attend this meeting, and I do hope that you will have a nice time. I'm currently teaching soils and climate far from you and Brittany, and I'm not able to attempt, but I want to summarize soil and climate because it's such an overlooked story that we need to know it. Soil was always contributing to glasshouse effect by producing CO2 because many organisms in soil respire when there is oxygen. But there are also, in soils where there is no oxygen, some bacteria that have very funny respirations, which produce glasshouse effect as well. For example, some of those bacteria are using CO2, and the result is that they produce methane. I think that you know that because those bacteria, they are active in the methane production units. It's them that are converting CO2 and organic matter into methane. Some other in soils which are devoid of oxygen are producing from nitrate. They use nitrate for respiration. They are producing nitrogen peroxide. So this nitrogen peroxide and methane production, which respectively are 230 times more and 50 times more active than CO2 in glasshouse effect, they occur in wet soils where there is little or no oxygen, and they contribute to make the soil one of the players of glasshouse effect. Now, the second thing is that when we started to use soil, especially in Eurasia, we amplified this. For example, in our practices, the production of glasshouse effect is enhanced by tilling, plowing, or manipulating the soil. Although you kill many animals and mushrooms and so on, the bacteria survive the plowing and they get more oxygen, so they respire more and they start to eat faster the dead organic matter of the soil, and they produce CO2. They produce more CO2 than they should otherwise, because otherwise they are a bit limited in oxygen. So it means that we've been emitting CO2 by plowing, by tilling since 10,000 years. It's very important. It's the basis of a book of Professor Rudiman, a climatologist, a Northern American climatologist who wrote a magnificent book on the fact that by plowing we were emitting 1/3 of the total of the CO2 we've been emitting. The two other thirds are since 200 years an emission due to fossil fuels. But we've been emitting a lot of CO2 by plowing, and it was just, making a trend for the climate to cooling, to stop down, and the climate was stabilized. We also, by wet production in submerged fields, we started 5,000 years ago to emit more methane than what was emitted before, just because we started to have those anoxic rice puddle soils. And in the soils, you have a lot of methane and nitrate. And also, more recently, by using nitrates as fertilizers, we were giving to some bacteria that are using nitrate as oxidizers in soil, that are respiring with nitrate, we were giving them an additional way of producing nitrogen peroxide. So, fertilizing with nitrate, irrigation, and plowing have been adding to the glasshouse effect of produced by soil, and it's a bad news in a situation where we have too much of glasshouse effect. A bit is good, because otherwise it will be -50 on Earth. Too much is too much, and we are entering too much. I showed you that soil has a link to glasshouse effect, that we enhanced this positively. I'd like now to show you in a third section that it's bizarre, because soil can be a way of mitigating climate change and glasshouse effect. Whenever you have organic matter in soil, these dead leaves, dead animals, dead microbes, this dead organic matter is, of course, slowly respired and used by animals and microbes in soil, but slowly it stays tens, hundreds, sometimes thousands of years. So you can store carbon in soil because the carbon entering with organic matter is not immediately respired. This is the base, the core idea of the 4 per mile. This is the idea that if you add to all the soils worldwide 0.4% of carbon, that is 4 per mile, you offset the production of glasshouse effect by human beings of the year. 4 per miles per year is offsetting our glasshouse effect production. So some limits. It's not a reason to go on with emission of glasshouse gas. We should stop that. Absolutely. It's just to resolve what we already emitted. Second, there are some soils which are not suitable for that. If it's too sandy, there is a lot of respiration and organic matter will not be stable. If there is less than 10% of clay, it will not go. So some soil will not be appropriated. We will not have enough of organic matter. This calculation is just to show that it's a powerful way to conjugate with others to enhance our ability to store carbon. We have to put organic matter in soil to store carbon. It will also improve the soil because this organic matter is also feeding many animals. It's also stabilizing the soil against erosion, stabilizing the pores of soil that retain water. It's directly interacting with water and retaining water. And finally, well, it's good for climate. You see that it can be enhancing the way the soil can store carbon, but also water, the way the soil is supporting life, and the way soil is fighting against erosion. It's really a blessing, and it's better than planting forest in a way, because if you plant forest to capture carbon, your children will have to keep this forest, which is the carbon storage. If you improve the soil, you store carbon in soil, okay, but then the soil is simply better for anything our children will wish to cultivate. Cereals, soya, strawberries, that's it. It's a way of storing carbon that doesn't occupy the landscape, while storing in forest occupies the landscape, is using place to make the carbon storage. So I like it. And now I come back to my last point, how to find organic matter in sufficient amount. Several sources. First, whenever you don't cultivate to harvest, cultivate to make organic matter. In Europe, for example, the soil currently in fall and winter are brown. Nothing is growing on it. It's bad for erosion, bad for life of soil, and also bad for the landscape aesthetic. No, just cultivate things that you will kill in spring before planting whatever you want to plant. In this way, this organic matter that you will give to soil under the forms of dead twigs, but also roots, it can give 0.1 to 10 tons of carbon per hectare. It's a way of storing. So use the cultivation of intercalary cultures to store carbon. Also, the cattle and all the animals that are producing manure and remains, they can be used, especially because they're also very rich in nitrogen and phosphorus. They are also fertilizers. But whenever you use this manure from cattle or chicken and so on, you are putting organic matter in the soil. And don't forget an animal that is producing a lot of organic remains, us. We produce 100 kilograms of organic matter in our kitchens per year. If we screen that carefully and put it in the soil, it's a wonderful way of inputting carbon in the soil and handling our wastes in the best way. So it's very important to think of this recycling carbon to the soil because there are many sources and they should be used for soil. By the way, in this section where I summarize where to find carbon, I'd like to stress that there is now a conflict with bioenergy. Whenever you use this organic matter in methane production units, it's a way to divert organic matter from the soil to methane production. Whenever you burn it, when you use the organic matter for bioenergy, you just divert it from the soil. And bioenergetic solutions and use, they are just competing with the soil for organic matter. And in a way, it's good because when you burn methane from methane production units or biomass, you give back CO2 to the atmosphere that was just the year before taken from atmosphere by the plant. So you don't input new CO2. So in a way, it's good, but you don't store it. Whereas when you put the organic matter in soil, it's stored for tens, hundreds, or thousands of years, depending on the soil. So it's better for climate to use the organic matter not as a source of energy, but for soils. And we have to be very careful to this competition between energy production and life of soils, especially because, to conclude, after telling you that soil has a role on climate, we abuse this role, whereas with the 4 per mile, for example, we could use the soil to fight against, to mitigate climate change. And finally, that they are a source of carbon and organic matter if we are careful. I would like to finish by insisting putting organic matter in soil is just making our soils better. So it's not only a way to fight for climate, but also a way to fight for the next generation to get food and very good soils. So, you know, putting organic matter in the soils is really an absolute emergency from many viewpoints. Think of the water. I told you that more water is retained when there is organic matter in the soil. We are going by 2080. So in like 60 years, we will have minus 40% of rain in summer. We need soil that store water as much as they can, and for that they need organic matter. So to summarize, if you want climate, but if you like your children to have good condition for food production, put organic matter in the soil. It's an absolute emergency. I'm sure you will share a lot on how to do it, why to do it, with who to do it. Please think of it. We need it. And once again, I'm very sorry I'm not with you, but I'm sure you will do the best, and you don't need me to think of it. Do it for climate and for our children. Merci.
That was a very motivational speech. Thank you, Marc-André, really. Wonderful work at summarizing soil and climate, but I think that more important than that even is this vision into the future and the importance of organic matter in the soil with such strong words. So we're doing great with time, I think, Paul. If you agree with me, we'll move to the next part of our day, which is as Marc-André was just saying, it's important to look into the future, but it's also very important to have a brief reflection on what has happened in the past years. So again, my name is Cecilia Saores. I'm International Director for Regeneration International and the Organic Consumers Association. I'm based here in Mexico at an educational organic ranch, Bioorgánica Ranch. But most importantly, I'm here on my role as Vice President for the 4 per 1,000 initiative. So thank you, Mr. President, dear Stefan, for giving me the honor of being able to chair this meeting. These two engaged guests, ladies and gentlemen. 2023 was the year of UNFCCC COP28, which will live long in our memories, with negotiations clearly, finally recognizing the role of agriculture and food systems as a major instrument in the fight against climate change, even when many discuss in the adaptation chapter, as if to echo the important event at the start of the COP, with the publication of the Declaration in the United Arab Emirates on Sustainable Agriculture, Resilient Food Systems and Climate Action, signed by 159 countries, which for the first time finally mentions the importance of soils and their health. At the end of the COP, on December 10, 2023, almost a year ago, during the day devoted to agriculture, which was originally scheduled for December 5, which is World Soil Day, the presentation of the FAO's roadmap for achieving zero hunger in the world without exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, in line with the Paris Agreement, was launched. There were many positive points and advancements on our issues during COP28. So it will soon be 10 years since COP21 in Paris validated in the Universal Agreement adopted by 195 nations, a shared commitment to keeping the rise in global temperature below 2 degrees, or if possible, 1.5 degrees Celsius, above pre-industrial levels by strengthening the capacity to respond to the consequences of climate change. In 2024, this rise has already exceeded 1.5, and global greenhouse gas emissions are continuing to rise. We've seen over 18.2% between 2005 and 2020, and total emissions of 57.1 GT of CO2 equivalent in 2023, when they should have fallen drastically to enable us to achieve the objectives of the Paris Agreement. So we must therefore continue and even step up our efforts to reduce emissions worldwide and in all sectors. At the same conference in Paris in 2015, developed countries pledged to mobilize $100 billion a year for climate action in developing countries by 2020 at the latest. A date later shifted to 2025 in the context of significant mitigation action and transparency of implementation. For the first time in 2022, that's 3 years ahead of schedule, the total amount of financing for climate action was $115.9 billion, exceeding the $100 billion goal. In itself, this is a positive result, but on closer examination, 2/3 went to mitigation efforts and 1/3 to adaptation, with only $10.4 billion devoted to agriculture, forestry, and fisheries, so 8.9% of the total budget. It can therefore be estimated that the share of funding going to agriculture did not exceed 25%. Forestry accounted for the vast majority of it, so it's just over 2% of the total, of which less than 1% reached the farmers, and particularly smallholder farmers didn't see any of this money. As far as financing is concerned, if it can be considered the result is relatively satisfactory in terms of amount, relatively satisfactory, quote unquote, it is definitely not in terms of targeting. And that's not to mention the demand from developing countries who would like to see this envelope increased to $1,000 billion over time. So this is the current situation at a time when more and more of us are recognizing the huge mitigation and adaptation potential of the agricultural sector, thanks to the soil, as we just heard from this very inspirational speech. It has to be said, however, that financial support is not necessarily going where it should. Having said this, I'm confident that our common efforts will be able to turn the tide of events. So what I would like to do is thank you once again for joining us for this 8th day of the 4,000 initiative online. Thank you for supporting our initiative. And without further ado, allow me to open the high-level segment of this 9th Partner Forum. We'll hear now from Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio, soil scientist, land and water officer from FAO GSP, which is the Global Soil Partnership. Natalia, the floor is all yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Ercilia, and Paul for the invitation. Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, as Ercilia mentioned, my name is Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio. I'm representing the Global Soil Partnership of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. It is a pleasure to be part of the 8th day of the International 4 per 1,000 initiative and to highlight the role of soils in climate change mitigation and adaptation. We must continue raising our voices and demonstrate how, through sustainable soil management, we can address the serious environmental and socioeconomic crises that are affecting everyone in the world. Although soils are often overlooked are one of the most powerful tools we have for combating climate change, but also for preserving biodiversity, managing water, and securing our food for the future. At the heart of the global food security and the actions of the FAO, soils provide the foundation for crop production. Without healthy soils, we cannot grow any food. Soils are rich in nutrients, organic matter, and healthy microbial life are essential for producing abundant and nutritious crops. Moreover, well-managed soils improve the resilience of our food system, helping crops survive the increasingly erratic weather patterns brought on by climate change. By adopting sustainable farming practices, we ensure that our soils continue to support future generations for food production. FAO, through its Global Soil Partnership, has been working on the promotion of these sustainable soil management practices since 2011. Aware that soil organic carbon is paramount to soil health, we have set an agenda for action for unlocking the potential of soil organic carbon. Currently, we are implementing this agenda together with farmers as the key partner in these activities, but also with many other partners, including the 4 per 1,000 initiative. In April 2020, the Global Soil Partnership launched the Rec Soil initiative. Is an initiative looking into the recarbonization of agricultural soils. Rec Soil main objective is to support and enhance national and regional greenhouse gas mitigation and carbon sequestration initiative in agriculture through the adoption of sustainable soil management and providing incentive mechanisms to farmers for the provision of ecosystem services. We are now implementing it in Costa Rica, Ghana, Mexico, and Togo, who are our first pilot projects, where about 500 farmers are putting more than 1,000 hectares under sustainable management. For the countries, we'll start piloting next year, including Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, but also Morocco and Armenia. So the potential is huge in every region of the world. The idea is to contribute to make progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goal target 2.4 on sustainable agriculture, but also to contribute to the climate agenda and reduce land degradation. Through this initiative, we expect to mitigate up to 34% of the emissions from agriculture in those areas. For FAO, the 4 per 1,000 represents an important political ambition that made the climate change stakeholders understand that soils can constitute one of the key solutions to this global challenge. Thus, we appreciate the French efforts to advocate for soils during the COP15, as that constituted a fundamental political breakthrough to position soils in the global agenda. As a member of the 4 per 1,000 initiative, FAO and the Global Soil Partnership remain committed to moving towards the vision of healthy and carbon-rich soils worldwide to combat climate change and end hunger. And I would like to invite all of you, all the partners of the 4 per 1,000 and the Global Soil Partnership, to continue catalyzing the current soil momentum and transforming it into concrete actions on the ground. To do so is critical to join efforts among all the existing initiatives so that we can make efficient use of the scarce resources to advance the global soil health agenda. With that, I would like to close my remarks. Thank you again for the invitation and wish you an amazing 4 per 1,000 day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalia. Natalia Rodriguez Eugenio, thank you for reminding us once again about the importance of healthy soil management. And thank you for your invitation and your words. I would like now to call Mr. John Barker, Director General of OIV, International Organization of Vine and Wine. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And good afternoon to all of the distinguished guests from around the world. It's a particular pleasure for the OIV to participate in this day. We've been members of the Carte Per Million initiative since its beginnings at COP21 in 2015. The OIV, the International Organization of Vine and Wine, is the international scientific and technical reference body for the vine and wine sector, and that's wine, but also grapes, table grapes, raisins, juices, and all products of the grapevine. Our membership covers 51 countries and 90% of the world's viticultural surface area of more than 7 million hectares. At the OIV, we're very well aware of the challenges posed by climate change and the need for the viticulture sector to address them in a sustainable manner. As a perennial crop, often planted in vulnerable areas, the viticulture sector understands very clearly what's at stake. In 2023, for example, drought, wildfires, hail, floods, fungal disease, all linked to climate change, contributed to the smallest global harvest in 60 years. The latest data, which we're going to release later in this week on the 2024 harvest, shows that it will be even smaller, once again, predominantly due to a combination of significant climate impacts in both northern and southern hemispheres. And these effects illustrate very vividly, I believe, the essential need to reduce the sector's environmental impact and its carbon footprint. Sustainability has been a major strategic policy for us in the OIV for more than 20 years, and for the sector as well. I think producers see it as a responsibility. Their livelihood depends on the land, but also the markets that we operate in increasingly demand sustainability from products of the grapevine, and that's why we have a strong commitment. And sustainable soil management is an integral element of sustainability within the sector. The relationship between people and the land, what we call terroir, is well recognized as the key to the distinctiveness and value of wine and other products. And more people are recognizing that sustainable soil management is fundamental to that relationship. And that's why the OIV strongly values its partnership with Carte per Mille. We have a memorandum of understanding which we are renewing and expanding, and it's a partnership that's closely aligned with our strategic priorities for the future. This year, 2024, the OIV celebrates its 100th anniversary. It's the very first international intergovernmental organization that was dedicated to a particular food product category. And to mark its new direction as we enter a new century, the OIV General Assembly adopted a new strategic plan. And I just want to highlight a couple of the key scientific priorities that are of direct relevance to the objectives of Carte per Mille. First, the OIV established a general priority to coordinate approaches to sustainability across the global vine and wine sector, using our position as an intergovernmental organization to coordinate, to share knowledge, to develop methodologies and measures, to establish best practices, to promote regulatory coherence and collaborate with other intergovernmental organizations such as Carte per Mille. Second, I want to call attention to our specific priority to prioritize works on the promotion of resilient and sustainable viticulture in order to address the impacts of climate change. And this includes working on soil health and working on soil CO2 emissions across a range of initiatives. And these priorities build on a large body of work already undertaken. Just one particular point I wanted to highlight was this year our very successful course on sustainable water and soil management for resilient viticulture that we offered in partnership with CM, who are participating today as well. Across all these strategic priorities, we reinforce the actions and objectives of the Memorandum of Understanding between the OIV and Carte per Mille, and we see these as a really strong opportunity to strengthen our mutual work and to demonstrate global leadership in these priorities in the future. And I think leadership is really important. So I just want to wrap up by thanking Carte per Mille for extending this invitation and for its unwavering commitment to promoting sustainable agricultural soil management, and also to express my sincere gratitude to all of the distinguished members of the forum, all of the participants here today. Your presence underlines the importance of our collective efforts in shaping the future of agriculture on a global scale. So thank you.
Thank you, John Barker, Mr. John Barker, and congratulations on the 100-year anniversary of OIB.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like now to give the floor to Dr. Ibrahim Asamayaki, Vice President of the International 4x1000. Ibrahim, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm really delighted to be here, and let me congratulate you not only for your chairmanship but for the motivation, the passion, and the knowledge. And congratulate Paul and all the team. I think a lot has been said. I will not. In Spanish, I think you say llover sobre mojado. So I will not rain on something which is already wet. I'll go straight to 5 key points. The first one is I'm the African Union Special Envoy Food Systems. We have defined last year a common position regarding soil health and fertilizer. And that common position has principles which are coherent with the 4/1000 principles. And it recognizes very clearly that agri-food systems transformation should not only be the carbon source of greenhouse gases emission, but also the carbon sink through afforestation, biomass energy, and carbon sequestration. So it's very clear. And the delivery process of that declaration, which is continental, is a regional translation through policies regionally, the 5 African regions, and nationally at the national level. So we have a delivery process. It's hard, difficult, but there is a way, there is a clear path which needs to be followed. Now, I will focus, since I have 3 minutes, on what I consider as key issues that need to be taken regarding implementation. So the first one is coherence between the instruments that we have in agri-food systems transformations and our action plan on soil health. Coherence between adaptation plans and NDCs and agri-food transformation pathways resulting from the United Nations Food Systems Summit. As you know, pathways have been defined. So I think it's important that in the coordination of these instruments, the issues of soil health are not diluted and are prioritized. That's point number 1. Point number 2, it's important, all of us are convinced of what we talk about, but it's important that we infuse and disseminate knowledge at the level of policy makers. So we need to build a narrative, and that narrative has to be impactful, understandable, clearly usable by policymakers, so that when we discuss with them, there is not that gap of knowledge, and communication is made easier, and it allows them to design the proper policies. That's my point number 2. Point number 3 is about institutions. I think we need to think about what type of innovative institutions we need to put in place in order to integrate the issues of soil health. Up to now, if you look at the government and the ministries, you don't know exactly where the issues are managed. It can be in an environment ministry, it can be in an agri ministry, it can be in a research center. So I think we need to think about institutional innovations so that we optimize the use institutionally of the targets we are aiming at and the principles that we are fighting for. And lastly, and this is my last point, science regarding soil health needs to be in the pockets of the small-scale farmers and the farmers. And that's another type of narrative. I was talking about the narrative towards the policymakers. Now the narrative towards the farmers, we need to encapsulate science so that they can use it easily at their level. So let me congratulate you again. and really highlight the huge impact that 4% zone is having in a very small time with very small resources. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Very good points that you've raised, building the narrative, communicating policy. And I would like to highlight you're speaking today, yes, you're Vice President of the 4.1000 initiative, but you're speaking today at the forum as Special Envoyee of the African Union for Food Systems. So I would also like to highlight that role.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ibrahim. We'll continue now with Mr. Teodoro Miano, Secretary General of the International Center for Advanced Mediterranean Agronomic Studies. Mr. Teodoro Miano, please.
Good morning, Ercilia. Thank you very much. I hope you hear me, but I cannot switch on the video. I think that does not depend on me. Anyhow, I'm very glad to be here today, and I thank very much to thank the Initiative for PERMIL for asking us and to participate to this very interesting event. We already shared a previous event a few weeks ago in Rabat, matching the 4PERMIL initiative meeting there with our ministerial meeting of the Minister of Agriculture of SIAM countries. I will come later on with this topic to be mentioned about this event later on. I just want to say a couple of things. Well, personally, I'm a soil scientist. I'm a soil carbon scientist. So I've been working all my life in soil carbon issues, especially natural organic matter and humic substances. We are just coming out a very important international meeting that we organized in Rimini in August on this topic. So it's really interesting for me to be part of this scientific community, because I really believe that soil health and with all the declination science can provide on this topic are extremely important, extremely significant. So my organization is an intergovernmental organization, as well as some of the others of the colleagues that are talking today. We are 13 member states from the Mediterranean area, from the north and the southern coast and east of Mediterranean. We have 4 institutes, so we are physically located in 4 different countries, plus the headquarters in Paris. And in each of these centers, we do have release educational programs from short courses up to Master of Science and doctorate programs in many disciplines. And our, let's say, field of action is the agri-food system. So I'm very glad the colleague that talked before me, the Vice President, mentioned about that. For us, in the center of our strategy is really the sustainable agri-food system. And of course, the initial or one of the most important portion of this agri-food system is for sure the natural resources and mainly soil, water, and biodiversity. So this is extremely important for us because soil are the base for production, but also the soils have a number of ecosystem services that release and produce for the general environment and for the human communities, which are absolutely extremely relevant. So SIAM, this organization, was born in 62, coming out from the OECD, the OECD cradle, let's say. We were born together in 62, and we deal about multilateral and regional cooperation, offering, as I mentioned, education programs, research at various levels, mainly funded by Europe. We open a big sector in innovation in the field of agri-food system in general, and we also have cooperation programs. So we are really present in more than 25 countries now, mainly in Mediterranean and then Central Africa and Asia and the Balkan area. So we are expanding, enlarging our community, and most of the work that we do are really into agriculture. So being in the field, in the class, with farmers and dealing with soil and water issues. So for us, it's really extremely relevant to talk about that. And again, we are very pleased to be part of the community. So how do we face this issue? How do we build up our action concerning this agri-food system, mainly through a number of tools that concern the fighting against the waste of food, the know-how, the knowledge about the natural resources, strengthening food and nutritional security, sustainability in Mediterranean agriculture and food system, sustainable inclusive development and investment for most of fragile population regions, and preventing and managing risk for better resilience. So our action is extremely variable, and through education, training, and research, we really reach out a very large number of individuals and communities. And one of the main approaches that we have in terms of soil quality and preserving the natural resources, it's also to move towards the enhancing the resilience of local communities, fragile and vulnerable communities that really rely onto this natural resource pretty much. So the idea of preserving and the conservation of the resource is extremely important. Of course, we do have a number of projects, research and cooperation dealing with soil health and soil characteristics, and these are extremely significant. We don't have the time to discuss about that, but we are really present in the scenario of this activity, and we're very pleased to be with you in this objective, with these aims. So thank you very much for now.
Thank you, Teodoro. Thank you very much. Great work from Siam. And thank you for reminding us again about the importance of agri-food systems. And yes, as you mentioned, we have really several speakers coming up. So we'll keep that in mind in terms of times. We are now welcoming Patrick Worms, Mr. Patrick Worms, President of the International Union of Agroforestry. So Patrick, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. It's my immense pleasure to address you today on the 10th anniversary of the International 4 per 1000 initiative. I was privileged to be there at its birth back in Paris, and I've never ceased calling Stéphane Le Foll the most transformative European agriculture minister of the 21st century. What he has done is astonishing. I was also delighted to hear Professor Selos refer to William Ruddiman's seminal work, Plows, Plagues and Petroleum. I actually have it on my desk. It's one of my reference works. The fact that the Holocene is a human construct and that we really should believe that the Anthropocene started about 8,000 years ago is not only humbling, but it's also a sign of hope. By evolving agriculture, we change the climate to make it stable and so more suitable for the growth of civilization. And by evolving it further, we can make it suitable to deal with the excesses of what civilization has become. I am the president of the International Union of Agroforestry, and so issues of soil health and soil organic carbon are close to my heart. In fact, few agricultural interventions beat agroforestry when it comes to increased adaptation to extreme weather events or to the ability of agriculture to contribute to a better planet by increasing the stock of soil organic carbon, the below-ground biodiversity essential to our health, and the above-ground biodiversity essential for good landscape functioning. Agroforestry is key to mitigate our carbon greed. Agroforestry systems have been found to have average soil carbon stocks that are much higher than those of monocrop fields. In some cases, they even approach those of forest stands. Amongst all of the methods used to increase soil health and soil carbon, agroforestry is unique because it does more to increase resilience to extreme weather, such as high winds, drought, storms, or erosion risks, than almost any measure out there. Because agroforestry grows timber and fiber on the same land as crops, it's also extremely useful to help us replace some of the concrete and steel we use in our buildings without further damaging the natural landscapes that remain through afforestation, in our mind, a terrible mistake. IUAF promotes agroforestry in a number of ways. First, we help early-stage researchers from around the world connect to one another, and we figure out ways in which they can work together physically as well as remotely. Second, we host the World Congresses on Agroforestry, which take place about every 3 years. The next one will take place in Kigali, Rwanda, in 2025. And thirdly, by helping regional agroforestry associations become established and grow, such as the ones that already exist in Europe or North America. All of those activities have one objective: to promote the integration of trees in agricultural and grazing landscapes across the planet. By doing this, we can boost soil organic carbon, we increase soil health, we boost biodiversity, and so we will contribute to leave a delightfully stabilized planet to our great grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Really impressive work, and thank you for reminding us always about the importance of agroforestry, terrific work of the International Union of Agroforestry. I would like now to introduce Diane Mathieu. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, President of APAD. So please, Diane, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak here. So I am Diane Mathieu, I am French, and I am a farmer, a real one. I think it's the first one of the day. And I am also president of a French farmer association, the APAD. So that means Association for the Promotion of Sustainable Agriculture. I am also an active member of the Global Conservation Agriculture Network, 4/1000, and the GSP, as Natalia spoke a little bit before. My farm is located on the south of Champagne in France. I grow field crops, cereals, legumes, seeds, and today I am harvesting hemp. I hope I will finish today. You put a theme today. The name was Soil Health, Soil Organic Carbon, Measure, Assess for Scaling Up Good Practices. I think as farmers, we are the ones which are developing good practices and can experiment how to scale these up. LPAD, by this association, is already doing the scaling up for developing good practices. This association is a network of 14 associations in France, 1,000 farmers, more or less, and our mission is to promote and valorize soil conservation agriculture. For that, we have 4 different pillars: developing a farmer network in the whole country, collective approach, training, that's very important for farmers, improving conservation agriculture technical practices in farm, promoting by speaking about conservation agriculture to a large audience, and valorization, economical, environmental, and the social services of conservation agriculture. We have created a label, and we are doing also carbon farming on 40,000 hectares. So do not hesitate. If you want to buy some credit carbon farmer, you can contact me. But that's not the subject. As farmer, we know that when you have to change, it is easier to share the experiences of our neighbors, our peers, than having lessons from the outside. But it's also necessary to have the support of policies, research, and industry to measure the results, measure the positive impact, and find solutions. It is important also to have the right policies in order to support the adoption of good practices. You said soil health and soil organic carbon. As farmers, we are responsible to give food, as Marc-André said, and we should be responsible of the health of the soil. To give food, we have to take care of the health of the plant first, the impact of plant competition in our fields, and the health of the plant. And we have to feed our plants to optimize photosynthesis, such important photosynthesis that lay production of biomass and thus capture and segregation of carbon. So for the health of the plant, we are using natural and chemical products, and that can have an impact on the soil health. As farmers in conservation agriculture, in France, we said conservation agriculture of soil. So we put the soil. We are very concerned by soil. You know, of course, the 3 pillars of this agriculture: no tillage, permanent soil cover, diversity of plants. Each day, we are improving soil organic matter, enhancing living soil with all the benefits in consequences. What I want to say is that using natural and chemical products on soil will not have the same impact in relation of the quality of the soil on a living soil or on an unhealthy soil. As Marc-André often says, do not underestimate the importance of purifying power of the soil. On my farm, I can say that the functioning of my soil is improving because I can see it. Less impact of pests, good yields, no erosion, and possibility of getting in the fields when my neighbor couldn't, bearing during rains, better resilience. But I can also measure it. I can measure my yields, of course. I can see the time I spend on my farm. I can see the inputs I spend, and so the greenhouse gas emission. I can see also the profitability, and I can measure the increment of soil carbon. On my farm, I am at 20 per 1,000. So the only 4 per 1,000 initiative has been created to support carbon sequestration in agricultural soils in order to increase their fertility for food security and mitigate greenhouse gas emission. As farmer, as APAD, we support this initiative and because we thought that it might support farmers. We have to focalize on the carbon sequestration in soil. That means favorize photosynthesis by good yields and cover crops, and letting the soil living without tillage. Farmer respecting the soil are also a key to solution. As the precedent speaker said, agroforestry are the key, or are the solution. Thank you for enabling farmers to save our civilization.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for your words, and good luck with the hemp harvest. Let us know how that goes. All the best. Now it's the turn for Madame Valérie Verdier, CEO of the French Research Institute for Sustainable Development. Valérie.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, it's really a great pleasure for IRD to be here. I am the CEO of IRD, but in my previous life, I was a plant health expert, and you know that plant health is extremely connected to soil health. So this 8th edition of the annual 4 per meal initiative is particularly important this year, it has been said. Indeed, in 2024, the 3 Rio Convention will have held their conference of the parties, and consolidating the role of science in this international agenda remains essential. Sustainable soil management is a key factor in combating the effect of climate change. How do we contribute to this? It is by reducing the contribution of the land sector to greenhouse gas emissions. It's by enabling better adaptation to climate change, this has been said before. It's also by promoting soil biodiversity and environmental services. And it's also by enabling better production to ensure food and nutritional security for population. Our decision makers, they are confronted with the different land use and land use change scenarios adapted to local context. So it is really vital that they can base their decision on robust scientific knowledge and data. This requires science that is open to a wide variety of academic, but also non-academic players. And this science must, for example, combine so-called conventional knowledge with indigenous and traditional knowledge in order to document the trade-offs and synergies between different land use scenarios with a view to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And we have little time left until 2030. So IRD is fully involved in the scientific field of sustainability science, a science that is co-constructed and core in the national higher education and research ecosystem of more than 50 low and middle income countries. And it is equally important to invest together in research infrastructures and observatories that enable the production and processing of data over the long term. Informed decision-making on sustainable soil management must also be based on reliable, robust, and contextualized scientific data collected over long or short-term periods of time. So to acquire this data, over the long time series, IRD with our partners from the south have developed observatories. And these observatories allow scientists and citizens also to collect data over a long time series and provide solid grounds to inform decision making at local, national, and also international levels. So this is the case, for example, I would like to take two examples briefly. In West Africa with the Amakach network, whose aim is to measure the impact of global change on the continental water cycle. And also the second example in Senegal with the Observatoire Population Santé Développement, Observatory for Population Health and Environment, where more than 50 years of data collected, including monitoring of greenhouse gas flows at the soil, vegetation, also atmosphere interface, and as part of the Fair Carbon program that is financed by France 2030. So for nearly 15 years, IRD has been developing a low-cost mobile soil carbon measurement methodology, which now is deployed with our partners in the field and also our laboratories. In line with the 4 per mil initiative, our work on the role and transfer of carbon from soils focuses on natural processes in continental ecosystem. I think IRD is making an original contribution, notably by studying the role of carbon in soil, in particular in forest biomass, for example, in the Congo Basin and also Amazon. Also by studying carbon transfer to aquatic and coastal ecosystem, and also by studying the importance of inorganic soil carbon in greenhouse gas emissions, as yet which is little studied. So with the COP desertification just a few days away, we look forward to seeing you in Riyadh, where we will be taking part in a number of events with our partners, including the 4 per mil initiative. And let's see how we can strengthen our commitment and our proposal between now and the COP29 climate in Belém next year. So thank you again for your invitation. Thank you for your mobilization. And I wish you a very fruitful day of exchange. Thank you.
Thank you, Valérie, and all the best at Riyadh. And thank you for further explaining the work of IRD and the importance of informed decision-making and data. Our next speaker is Dr. Julien Demenois, researcher in functional ecology, focal point at CIRAD. Dr. Julien?
Yes, thank you, Ms. President, dear President and Vice Presidents of the 4 per Thousand Initiative, dear colleagues. On behalf of CIRAD President and CEO, I'd like to share a few words with you to launch our work at the 8th annual meeting of the 4 per Thousand Initiative. First of all, it's always a pleasure and an honor to come together for these annual days, and perhaps even more these days, which marks the start of the 10th year of our 4 per Thousand Initiative. Indeed, we've come a long way since that day in March 2015 in Montpellier, when Stéphane Le Foll, then French Minister of Agriculture, challenged the world of research on the impact of soil carbon sequestration to meet the climate and food security challenges. This is undoubtedly where the seed of the 4 per Thousand Initiative was sown, and it is with great care and pride that CIRAD has since contributed to its growth and prosperity. CIRAD was indeed a supporter of the 4 per Thousand Initiative from its very beginning. In 2024, we are proud to have co-organized and co-financed the first 4 per Thousand Mediterranean Regional Conference held a few weeks ago in Morocco, and we were also honored to see our colleague Rémi Cardinal join the Scientific and Technical Committee of the 4 per Thousand Initiative. His arrival on this committee will only strengthen our commitment. Our contribution also took shape in 2024 with the launch of the Impact for Soil platform, which CIRAD developed with its partners as part of the ORCASA project and the creation of the International Research Consortium on Soil Carbon. In 2025, CIRAD will also be working alongside our Brazilian colleagues in the 4 per Thousand Initiative for the Latin American Conference and in the run-up to COP30 in Belém. In an increasingly polarized and techno-solutionist international context, defending and promoting soil health may seem anachronistic, but soil health has probably never been so vital. It is a source of equity and social justice and helps meet the challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and food security. That's why CIRAD has made soil health one of its priorities in its new strategic orientations. In operational and partnership terms, this has led to the creation of a new research group on soil health, along with INRAE and IRD, and the establishment of a partnership network in West Africa on this topic. CIRAD will be there to support the 4 per 1000 initiative as it moves from childhood to adolescence over the next 10 years. In the meantime, I wish us all a fruitful annual meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you for CIRAD support as we move into our adolescent years. Thank you. Appreciate it. And now it's the turn for Madame Suzanne Reinders, Coordinator of Soil Carbon IRC. Suzanne, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just a question, can I share a presentation? I just want to share some information about the current status of the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. So first, thank you very much for inviting me to this high-level panel. I'm leading a European project and an initiative that is going to continue after that project. That's called the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. And we're working also with the 4 per mil initiative. So I wanted to mention this before we start. So we support, of course, the Paris Agreement and the objectives of the 4 per mil initiative. What we want to do with that Soil Carbon International Research Consortium is really to raise awareness and science-based knowledge on soil carbon. Our colleague from CIRAD just mentioned it. So Julien is also part of that project that I'm leading, and that's where we developed that Impact for Soil platform. But we're also working at international level with a number of regional ambassadors. So our soil carbon was officially launched in Madrid last year during the first Soil Mission Week of the European Commission. And just to show our regional ambassadors, and I mentioned especially our colleague Wole Fatundi from Africa, from FARA, but also our colleague from Embrapa, who is organizing a seminar, a conference next year in Brazil. So this is how we're organized, and as you can see, we're sharing our interim scientific committee with the 4 per mil STC. We have already a number of signatories of our letter of interest, and we have an interim steering committee where Paul Lu from the 4 per mil initiative is the deputy chair of Jean-François Souzana, who is one of the 2 co-chairs, and we have also online Natalia Rodriguez, who is also part of that interim steering committee, which is really helping us developing the soil carbon IRC. So as previously mentioned on the back of this slide, we're developing a platform called Impact for Soil, but through the theme of today's meeting, we are also working on internationally harmonized MRV framework, and we have published a number of documents and publications on that, and we're carrying on that work and producing some more work by the end of the year. And we are also trying to fund the necessary research concerning soil carbon in soils by trying to find research alignment and calls and working with funding agencies around the world. So I'm going to be very brief now, just the services that we develop everyone from the FOPEMIL community can collaborate with us on those 3 services that we are developing. So I think it is key that, and thank you very much for giving us the possibility today to share what we are developing. We are co-constructing every single service that we are moving, like for instance, the Impact for Soil platform. We have launched a survey for which, on which different persons from the FOPEMIL initiative did give some feedback on that platform. So that's very important for us to enrich it and to develop it further. That's just about what we do on MRV. That's the Impact for Soil platform. We are working also on the compilation on strategic research and innovation agenda, and what was mentioned just before by IRD and by Sirad. We're working with IRD with the CASA network in Africa, and we are supporting the meeting that they are having at the moment in different countries in Africa. And we're also, of course, taking into account the different strategic research and innovation agenda, and that of FOPEMIL, of course. That's just to show you all the institutions that we're trying to work with. So we're hoping one day to work also with the Belmont Forum, but ANR, our funding French research agency, is really dedicated to work with institutions around the world to develop that research. And well, Paul and Beatrice were there with us in Brussels during our monitoring, reporting, and verification policy workshop, which was really appreciated, I think, where we informed our European developers of the certification framework for carbon removals, of what is going on elsewhere in the world. So this is really a topic that is essential to us. And as I mentioned, we're also funding that Latin American Caribbean Soil Research Symposium with the FOPEMIL as a co-organizer of the meeting. So thank you very much. Sorry, I hope I wasn't too long, but I just it was just easier for me to do that. And I would also like to say a word just to excuse Philippe Mauguin and Jean-François Susanna. They couldn't be part of the meeting today, but they send their regards. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne, and Jean-François, and the rest of the team was very well represented by you. So we appreciate this presentation. Amazing work you're doing at IRC. Our next speaker is Mr. David Navarro, Strategic Director for SD Foundation. And David, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I am absolutely honored to be here at this event. To all of you, particularly Paula, Lou, and Ercilia Sahores, thank you particularly. I work as a medical doctor in a foundation based in Geneva, Switzerland. And for the last 15 years, I have been particularly focused on links between food, nutrition, and environment. More recently, as this has become described as food systems working in the United Nations system. I'm connected to around 150 countries that are involved in transforming their food systems and taking account of climate change. I am just back from the Food and Agriculture Program in Baku in Azerbaijan. My commitment is to recognizing the role that farmers play in environmental services and sustainability. I want to see farmers being able to have a greater role in shaping their food systems. And the remarks of Diane Mazur just now, I believe, are hugely important, because farmers value the health of soil. Farmers value water. Farmers value the air that their crops are encountering. Farmers value marine and oceans, probably more than any other community in our world. And I would like to do everything I can in my work on food systems transformation to enable farmers to practice in ways that add to the value of soil, water, air, and oceans, that ensure that soil in particular is able to sequester carbon and be strong. And so that means that the rest of society, policy makers, researchers, industries, and indeed the whole of society combines with farmers around a narrative that values healthy and good soil. And I've watched it growing. I've seen even secretaries of state in major nations attending meetings and saying explicitly that soil health is absolutely vital for human security. But we need every government and every business to be giving that same message and putting it into practice. Without a proper emphasis on soil health that is understood by children and young people, that is understood and practiced in boardrooms as well as in laboratories, and it is at the center of government thinking and action. Without this, we will be without one of the most important measures for human security and livability of our planet. Thank you for the chance to say these words. Count on me to be your advocate. Best wishes to all.
Thank you, David. Thank you for your words, for your support, and for your motivation and always being there. We really appreciate it. I'm going to now pass the mic to our last speaker of this series of speeches, Mr. Pierre Abadi, Employment Director for Tikehau Capital. Pierre, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Very quickly, I'm the Group Climate Director for Tikehau Capital. So Tikehau Capital is an asset manager. So to make it very simple, our role within the economy is to collect the global saving. So we are talking about saving that could be on pension fund, insurance companies, sovereign wealth fund, and then we invest those funds into the real economy. On my side, I'm directly in charge within our entity of a part that is called private equity. So that means that I'm bringing fresh capital to businesses. They are usually mid-cap companies. So they've got companies with few hundreds to few thousand of people. And within Tikehau, we have collected to date 45 billion euros of global saving. Out of this 45 billion euros, we have decided since 2018 to invest into climate. So we've got two main parts, one that is dedicated to decarbonizing the economy, the other one that is dedicated to sustainable and regenerative agriculture. And we've got a target of deploying 5 billion euros to this climate topic by 2025. To date, we have raised 3 billion euro and we have deployed nearly 2 billion euro into those topics. And we have decided to launch 2 years ago a fund dedicated to regenerative agriculture, in a sense that we are investing into the companies that are the toolbox, the enablers of the practices. So we don't invest at the farm level directly, but we are going to invest into the companies that are going to provide the biostimulant, the pollination service, the companies that are going to provide the equipment that will allow to make no-till, the companies that are going to work on the seeds themselves, the companies that are going to provide the micro-irrigation system, the digitalization of the system, that will be used into the full value chain to shift the way that we are currently organizing our agriculture. So the way that we are currently doing our agriculture is certainly a threat for our soils, but we see it as well as a silver bullet for the global climate and biodiversity control. If we manage to shift those practices at scale, we are talking about 50% of the current habitable land that could come back into regeneration, with the positive effect that it has. And the 4 per 1,000 initiative is clearly, I would say, a summary of what it is. 0.4% of carbon equal the amount of emission that the humankind is putting on the planet. So we acknowledge that human being is 0.01% of the biomass on Earth, and somewhat we have enslaved 50% of the habitable land. If we do it the right way, in fact, we can help the biosphere to help us to survive a bit longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for putting those numbers in perspective. We realize how small we are, but how together we can do many things. And now, I think we are. We still have one more speaker. No, I think we're good with all speakers, Paul. So we actually will give the floor to Paul, because there's a lot of work that is being done at the 4 per 1,000. These women and these men have been working all year long, doing lots of things. You see them usually in the background, you don't realize, but they don't stop working every single day. So we'll hear from them. First, we'll hear from Executive Secretary Dr. Paul Liu, showing us activity report for 2024. So please, Paul, thank you, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you very much, Ercilia. Thank you for your animation, your time, and your nice chairmanship. And thank you to all the speakers that were before me. And it's really very impressive and help us to be motivated all year long to develop all those activities for all of you and all the network. So I would like to use my time to present to you the activity report of the 4 per 1,000,000 initiative for the past year. And very quickly, I'm going through remind you that we base this activity report and all our activity developed on the roadmap that was presented to you and validated by the consortium in Dubai last year. So we organized this roadmap now since the validation of the strategic plan 2050 by the consortium on the basis of this operational framework and the strategic plan. So we are mainly concerned about what we call the core facilities, and I think Beatrice will come back on it tomorrow during the consortium of the members meeting. And we work on 7 core facilities that are here. Recall to you: strategy, governance, administration, advocacy and awareness, soil health program, networking and collaboration, partnership alliance, and transversal action. So to illustrate all of that, I can explain to you what we have done since the end of last year. Of course, last year we organized in Dubai during the COP28, the 8th forum of the 4 per 1,000,000 initiative, and the 9 consortium of the member. So we recall all that. We had a very inspiring speech by Dr. John Liu about ecosystem restoration. It was quite great. And we had also 3 main sessions during that meeting on impact measurement tools for agroecological transition, on action at regional level with the regional meeting in Western Africa, North Europe, and Asia and Pacific, and update on from science with the role of soil in resilience to climate extreme and climate change and food and water security by MBRAPA. So it was really a very interesting day around the theme of healthy soil for a healthy planet, which was quite evident at that time. So in the afternoon, we had the 8th consortium, as I already said, and we've been through all the activity, the administrative work, I would say, of the initiative concerning the budget, the new partners and members, the roadmap, the statutory meeting, the activity of the bureau, And of course, we also signaled the presentation of the IRC launch. IRC was just presented by Susan Reinders few minutes ago. So that was last year in Dubai. So this year, unfortunately, we are online only, but hopefully next year for Brazil, we will be in Belém if we can find room in some hotel, because it's quite difficult at the moment to anticipate that. But we will come back on that subject later on. So we also contributed to organize meetings of the STC, Scientific and Technical Committee, in hybrid way all the time now, to allow the member that cannot come to join us in person to follow all of that online. So we had a meeting in Montpellier, France, from May 22nd to 24th last year, and we had a meeting also in Rabat in Morocco, and in October 24th and 25th. So I will not come back on the presentation of the STC activity report, because this will be the next point that we will have in our agenda, but and I will not insist on all the activity. Beverly, Henry will do it, but I can tell you that the STC work a lot, and STC is also now the interim STC of the International Research Consortium on carbon, on soil carbon. And so they have almost double of the work, and we have a lot of activities, and thanks to the support of ORCASA project, we can gather and organize all the work of the STC during last year. So at the level of the implementation of the strategic plans, so we continue our work on the core facilities, I already said, but we also continue the work of the Task Force A5 and Task Force F1 under the leadership of Annie Ruth Kenny and Mark Bernard for the second one. But well, to be honest, we need to relaunch this activity, because it's a little bit difficult to have all those people working online all the time. But this is our work, and we will push hard. We had some meetings of the Bureau, which is I recall to you that they are the elected entity of the consortium of the member, and that meet every 2 months, roughly. So we had 6 meetings since the Dubai meeting last year. And Ercilia, you make us the pleasure to chair most of those meetings, and thank you very much for that. The Bureau organized the way to replace some of the member in the Bureau who was, or unfortunately for them, deceased, or just were not very active, and we had to resign. So we welcome Norway Farmers Pride International from Botswana, and South African Comprehensive and Ecology National Initiative Sakani from South Africa in the 3 position as alternate for country, for farmers organization, and for NGOs in the Bureau. And we also validated the nomination of Gabriel Bastien and Dr. Wolfgang Zunbach as honorary vice president of the 4 per Mille initiative, and the nomination of 2 STC members, Professor Monika Szronska and Dr. Rémi Cardinael from Poland and France in the STC. And Bureau helped us, the Secretariat, to prepare this 4 per Mille day. At the regional level this year, we organized only one regional meeting. It was already mentioned by our friend from Siam, from CIRAD and INRAE, and also IRD. So this meeting was organized in Rabat in Morocco, and it was just before the Siam has its ministerial meeting in the same town. So I will let our friend Teodoro Miano from the Siam Secretariat to recall that and explain to you what was achieved during those meetings. So we have the pleasure also to have Stéphane Le Foll, our chair, who came to Rabat and wrap up the regional meeting, and also used the roadmap that was designed during that regional meeting to transfer to the Siam ministerial meeting on the last day of this regional meeting. So we, of course, as Secretariat, but also as a Scientific and Technical Committee, and also most of our chair, being present to several international meetings. I will not go along all this list, but we've been in Paris, we've been in Ben-Guerir, we've been in Florence, we've been in several other places all year long, and you have some illustration that. I would just recall you that on the AFRIS platform, you can find this all of those activity in a report that were designed for you, and so you will be able to read all of that in detail and to recall you all our activities. So we also continue the development of relationship with initiatives and partnership, and we participate to ORCASA meeting, as was said by Susan Reinders and the ERC. We were also in Rome for the Global Soil Partnership General Assembly, and we participate through a side event to the Partnership Day. We had meeting with various other institutions like OIV, FAO, foundations, and our friend from the Coalition of Agroecology and Coalition of CASH. And we are also partners of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration and some other regular meeting that we have with all our friends. On the communication part, we continue the work on the collaborative platform and the website. So it's quite time consuming, but we try to do our best to have those two tools updated with the last information. We continue the work of the Climate Soil Nexus Community of Practice online. And now it's more than 400 members of this community exchanging information, having webinars together. And we also organized the fourth edition of the 4 per Mille Initiative Virtual Fair using our platform during the European Union Green Week. On the communication part, continuation, we had four publication of the newsletter, number 23, 24, 25, and 26 in French, English, and Spanish. This is a lot of work, but it also reflects the work done by the network. It's not only our work, but it's also your common work that is mentioned in this newsletter, and this is very important. We also continue to publish some soil carbon notes. One of the last one was the result of the COP in Dubai, and there will be some, of course, at the beginning of next year on the 3 COPs that we had this year in the world. On the very important part, the Scientific and Technical Committee continue its very important work organizing webinars. And we had very interesting webinars. I mean, Beverly will come back on that, but this is to highlight the fact that all of those information and all the video on our YouTube channel. Of course, it's not so interesting that to see beautiful cats and beautiful fishing or hunting activities, but this is important. So please visit our YouTube channel and see all those webinars and some records from the previous 4 per Mille Day. Here you have some data about our networks that are increasing slowly, but it's interesting. We have some increase in all the followers. Of course, the database of the members and partners is updated, and you have a map here of all our partners and members all around the world. You can see that we have really a lot of partners and members, more than 830 now, and it's always a pleasure to have to discuss and being able to discuss to work with them. Well, I will come back on that later on, but you can already have this information. We organize with our friend from Safe Soil Movement and SECEM a work on 2 policy briefs. One was already presented at COP 29 in Baku 1 week ago. And it was on making climate finance work for agricultural soil. And the other one is prepared for the next week, COP 16 in Riyadh on UNCCD, and it will be on expanding scope of land restoration fund to impact all geography. So we continue and finish our work with FAO on the accessibility of various tools like ABC Map, Next, and Aurora in order to help those tools to be accessible in various languages and also including all the indicators that are included in our work. So we have some administrative procedure with the French Minister of Agriculture, ERD, a company called Ormex that support us this year, INRAE, CIRAD, Crédit Agricole du Maroc, and also we had a very interesting and work with Orcasa in the soil organic IRC that helped us to organize the STC meeting both for IRC and for us. And we have, of course, some agreement with AFRIS for the collaborative platform, and we will renew soon our agreement with OIV. So here is a little bit of just a vision of our partners, the country and the member, and some of the logo of our partners and members. And this is the official figure, and 838 partners from 108 countries, 368 members among them, and our three chair and vice chair, Stéphane Le Foll, of course, Ercilia and Ibrahim Baeki. You have the pleasure to see all of them today during that meeting, which is very exceptional. I mean, I'm very, very happy with that. So on the budget and finance, we were supposed to have roughly 1 billion euro to work, but of course, as usual, we have only roughly 1/3 of that amount available, thanks to the French Minister of Agriculture, the Spanish Minister of Agriculture, IRD, INRAE, Ormex, Orcasa project, but also German Minister of Agriculture for the secondment, and the region Occitanie and Agropolis International for the in-kind contribution. I will come back on that tomorrow. We spend a little bit more than 300,000 euro for this year. And it will remain almost nothing for next year on that budget. So that is why it's so important to recall you that we need a global effort on mobilization for financial resources. We have launched this year for the first time, thanks to CDA and to Hello Asso, a campaign for funding. And you can join this link, and it's also accessible towards our website, to give us some money to continue our work. So please do so and help us to collect the maximum of money for us to be able to work. To finish this very quick presentation, here is the number of persons and our organization in the Executive Secretariat, with my friends from Montpellier, Béatrice Breton-Ascar, our friends from Germany, Dr. Claudia Schepp, and Samuel Otnad. Well, Julia Clem just changed work now, and but I would like to say thank you to her, because she was a very valuable part of our secretary. We have also Elena Boyano in Madrid, our Spain colleague, and some consultant like Marc Bernard, which is in between Benin and Germany, and our consultant on communication and IT, like Frédéric Lescent, Philippe Cornujol, and Mr. Brouard also, who help us. So thank you to all of them. Our secretary is working hard for you, and with also Brigitte Cabantus from CIRAD. And I hope that this work will suit you, and I hope that you will be able to read the documents that are in our platform for you, specially prepared to give you that insight of what we have done during the year. Thank you very much, Ercilia, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for all the work that you do. We can really see that how active the 4,000 team is, and all the things that you're doing. You said it in less than 10 minutes, but we know how much work and dedication from the team is in every single thing that you do. So we really appreciate your work. And we're in the last stretch almost for our day, and we would like to hear now and complement the presentation that Paul gave, hear about the activity reports of the 4,000 Scientific and Technical Committee. We'll hear from Dr. Beverly Henry and Dr. Budiman Minasny. So Beverly, Budiman, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Celia. I'm going to try to share my screen. I hope this works. thank you to the organisers. It's quite late here in Australia, but I've really enjoyed all the talks. They've been really interesting and inspiring. And thank you, Paul, for introducing the activities of the STC as well. So what I'm going to do is to run through very quickly some of the activities of the committee over the past year. There's 14 members of the committee. I'm speaking on behalf of all 14. This isn't my work, and particularly my co-chair on the committee, Pasha Damasolani. So I'll run through very quickly. But as Paul said earlier, a lot of the work that we do is featured on the platform for Paul per thousand, so you can follow up with more information there. So this year we welcomed 2 new members to our committee, Remy Cadenea from CIRAD, who is currently working in Zimbabwe, and Monika Skwaranski, who's from Poland. So just to introduce their particular expertise that they bring to the committee, Remy has a deep understanding of soil organic carbon under agroforestry systems and in field experiments and in agroecological practices. And that's a very valuable skill set to bring to the Scientific and Technical Committee. And Monika has expertise in carbon and nitrogen cycle and soil organic matter. So we're very pleased to have these two members. Now, I'm going to run through the activities under a couple of different headings: policy, scientific leadership, and our meetings with the IRC. And I'd really like to acknowledge firstly that the work that we do wouldn't be possible without the support of the Secretariat. So for Paul and Claudia and their teams, we say a big thank you up front. So we held 2 meetings during the year. They were held both in person and online. And these 2 meetings each served also as meetings for the International Research Committee's STC. And as Paul mentioned, the STC for 4 per thousand is acting as the interim Scientific and Technical Committee for IRC. And it's been a pleasure to have Suzanne join us for at least part of our meetings during this last year. So the first meeting in May was in Montpellier in France, and the second one was in Morocco in conjunction with the Mediterranean Regional Meeting. So on to the activities. Firstly, policy advocacy, and it's really important that we use our science where we can to influence policy. So just 2 items that, 2 activities that we're involved in. We had an abstract accepted for a policy brief on ensuring soil resilience for food, water and soil social security under the T20 Brazil 2024 call. And that meeting was held in November this year. And we also reviewed a document from the World WWF on NDC, Nationally Determined Contributions for Food Forward Tool, an NDC Food Forward Tool. And we looked particularly at the soil module and provided comment to WWF. So looking at the scientific outreach, the webinar series has already been mentioned, and this has been probably one of the most successful and influential activities that the STC has been able to be involved in. We had 4 webinars during the year, and they were very well attended on a live basis, but also many visits and viewings after the webinars were held. And you might note there, the one held in June on how to measure soil health is particularly relevant to the theme of today's meeting. But each of these involves really complex in some ways, controversial scientific questions that are very, very, very important for understanding how we can promote soil organic carbon storage and soil health. So I'd encourage anyone who wasn't able to view them live to go to the website. The QR code there can be used, but they're on the 4 per thousand platform to be seen at any time. We've also contributed to a number of conferences, and this gives visibility to the work of the 4 per thousand initiative as well. At the IUSS Centennial meeting, there was a very successful presentation that Claudia gave on approaching a decade of the 4 per thousand initiative, the crucial role of multi-stakeholder collaboration for enhancing healthy and carbon-rich soils. And so that was able to look back at some of the achievements of the 4 per thousand initiative and the collaboration that many of you will be involved with. We also try to publish scientific papers. There was a paper published by J.K. Lada, an STC member, with Paul Liu on the 4 per thousand initiative, mitigating climate change through carbon sequestration and sustainable agricultural practices. And we have a paper in preparation for a new journal called Soil Advances, and that paper on enhancing implementation of the 4 per thousand initiative through region-specific agricultural practices will highlight some of the need for regional-specific management of soils for health and for sequestration. And Stella Kutika is leading that paper. And just to raise your awareness of a special issue that's that's underway at the moment for that journal, Soil Advances, and Budaman Manasny, our STC member, who has also been very much fundamental to the organisation of the webinar series, is the editor-in-chief for that journal, for that special issue. And if anyone listening has a paper to submit, it's still open. We can still take new papers for that journal up until the end of March. So I'd encourage you to, spread that information around amongst your colleagues as well. A range of other activities that the STC has been involved in. We continue to contribute to the validation of papers and a database on interesting and influential scientific papers that are available on the Resource Centre. We're midway through the scientific and technical assessment of soil projects and for the 6th call, and that provides feedback and to developers of proposals to help them get success with getting funding for projects. We provide scientific advice on the implementation of the strategy and the work of the task forces within 4 per thousand. And we participate in regional meetings, most recently the 4 per thousand Mediterranean regional meeting. And this final slide is just detailing some of the collaboration that is involved through the STC in acting as both the 4 per thousand STC and the interim STC for the International Research Consortium. Sorry, it's late here. As I said, Suzanne joined us for our meetings in May and October, and 2 co-chairs have been elected for that interim IRC STC. That's Budaman Manasny and Deborah Bossio. And Suzanne spoke about Deborah being also a vice chair within the consortium. We have a number of upcoming and ongoing tasks with the IRC, and that's guiding and reviewing the strategic research and innovation agenda, where we are providing review of the Impact for Soil platform and review of the report on international MRV activities. And this ongoing collaboration will continue into next year. So that's all I have to say from the activities of the STC, but thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you for your time, and thank you also for being so graceful. We know it's very late in Australia, so we really appreciate you staying up so late and joining us. Incredible work of the STC. We see all the activities, we see everything that you do. So I please encourage everyone to visit the platform, to follow up with the work that they are doing. It's fundamental for the progress of the 4.1000 initiative. I would like to introduce, there's going to be a brief video by Dr. Juan Lucas Restrepo. Is that correct, Paul? Am I right?
Yes, I will try, because I have to try to share my screen, and I hope the sound will be good, but I'm not sure. I will make a try.
All right, let's see if we can make it work. He's Director General for the Alliance of Biodiversity International in SIAT. So here we go.
Can you hear it?
Yes, it's a little bit low. If you could make it higher, the volume.
Message last minute. I got 3 important points. The first one is the 4 per 1000 or 4 by 1000 initiative will mark its 10th anniversary in 2025, and it's something we all need to celebrate. My second message is that soil health is becoming more and more an element at the heart of the global sustainability discussions. Soil health tackles not only climate, but biodiversity, desertification, livelihoods, and water challenges. And the third message is that we at the Alliance of Biodiversity and SIAT are fully committed and have significant work around soil health and restoration efforts. We work on smart fertilization, in agronomic efforts. We work in agrobiodiversity as related soil. Trees, as an example, is an amazing tool for soils and restoration. We have a beautiful emerging research on deep-rooted systems, where our forages, our brachiarias are now being able to store in specific conditions carbon at 2 meters depth, where in some places soil carbon only reaches the first 5 centimeters of topsoil. So this is, in a way, a revolution for specific environments. And we keep deepening our soil fertility maps, soil carbon databases, etc. So you have both our commitment to keep supporting the initiative in partnership, and to make sure our research is deepened around soils, soil carbon, and soil regeneration and restoration. Good luck, colleagues.
Thank you, Juan Lucas, for this beautiful message. And thank you again for everyone who is joining us today for the 8th day of the Forum of Partners. Again, this is very important. We're almost getting there to the end of the day, but this is a celebration. We're celebrating all the work that has happened throughout almost 10 years, but also this year. So it's important we take the time to recognize the work of the Secretariat. I would like to now ask Madame Hélène Lemaitre-Coury, Deputy Director of SIAM Montpellier, to join us to tell us a bit more about what happened at Rabat, Morocco. Hélène, the floor is all yours, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll just say a few words about this extremely interesting conference that was organized by the 4per1000 initiative with both the executive secretariat, and we were honored also by the presence of the chair that participated in the conference and carried the meeting, the results of the meeting to the Siam ministerial meeting that will be presented by our General Secretary, Dr. Teodoro Miano, just after. So this event took place at the University IAV Hassan II in Rabat from 21st to 23rd of October, and co-organized with IAV Hassan II and Siam, where I work. And for me, it was extremely interesting to confirm once again that the theme of soil health and soil carbon has the capacity to get together a wide range of experience and mind from research. Obviously, there was a number of very practical research results being presented, but also from farmers sharing their concrete results on the ground, their thoughts, their reflections, and also from a range of sectors, actors, from NGOs, private sectors, farmers themselves, and researchers, sharing their thoughts for the future. And this is particularly important in a region like the Mediterranean region, which is facing some of the most crucial threats and actual impacts of climate change, biodiversity depletion, and land degradation. So very interesting again to see how this theme of soil health could mobilize and could bring together people that had a more sectorial vision, for example, on wine and vineyards, but also a very integrative vision. There was a lot of exchanges on how agroecology through soil health can be a factor for systemic change and a systemic transition capable of facing the challenges of the region. So there was a conclusion that were carried by a number of the actors, and in particular, it was interesting to see how a vision emerged with farmers, youth, and women, people that we don't always hear raise their voice, sharing their vision for the future, with people more involved in the value chains and people more involved in the ground, sharing common results. This led to the preparation of a regional 6-year roadmap, 2025-2030, for the Mediterranean geographical area, in line with the 4per1000 Strategic Plan 2050 and the Siam Strategic Plan which is in final elaboration for 2030. So 5 main areas for action: an action on advocacy and awareness, urging soil regeneration, scaling up and building on the regional networks, financing agroecological transition, and measuring, monitoring, reporting, and verification tool as key factors to ensure the effectiveness of what's being implemented on the ground. In conclusion, just a few words. It was very interesting to see how these exchanges brought together some of the key strengths of the Mediterranean, which is very rich in knowledge, very rich in experience, including traditional knowledge that are at the heart of future solutions for agroecology, but together with research and innovation to connect and identify combinations of practices that are adapted to the local territories of the Mediterranean. And one key condition to reach this objective is to create space where people share experience and create those innovative combinations building on the existing space locally, but also space at the level of the region. And this was really what was achieved through this meeting. We will continue contributing to its implementation, and for us it's very important, in particular in a project that we are implementing together with the advice of the 4per1000 initiative, which is called NATAE, on the transition towards agroecology in the Mediterranean region, and in the network that is built as one of the results of this project, but going way beyond this project, which is called MEDAE, a network on agroecology with participants from all around the basin, with NGOs, local field actors, and researchers. And we really took a lot of elements from this meeting to further develop those initiatives. So thank you for this co-organization, and I'm sure our General Secretary will speak more of the benefits for the ministerial meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you for taking us to this Mediterranean Regional Conference in Rabat. Really informative. We appreciate all this. And I'm sure that we'll hear some complementary comments from Teodoro Miano, Secretary General of SIAM. Teodoro, it's great to have you back.
Thank you very much. I'll try to not to invade too much this meeting today, but I want to just to report briefly what was the impact of this event that we have organized in Rabat. We were very much pleased to organize the ministerial meeting of SIAM. Actually, after 8 years of absence on the scene, because the last one was organized in Tirana in 2016. So after 8 years, we have been able to bring again this event on the international scenario. And was very pleased, I was saying, to organize this thing back to back, shoulder to shoulder with the 4 per Mil initiative. And this was a very great occasion to really move from one meeting to the other, as Elena was mentioning before. So we prepared for the 12th ministerial meeting, engaging in the extensive consultation. We started with the special debate organized in Malta with esteemed international expert in order to give us some hints and some suggestion of what the main topic would have been in this event, and also contacting the ministerial cabinets in order to be aware of what the main needs and the main expectations of the minister would have been. The 2 main points to start with. The first one was that we consider that the Mediterranean region is facing, as many participants already mentioned, a more severe impact from global warming than other areas of the planet, with temperature rising at a faster rate than the global average. And this accelerated warming primarily driven by greenhouse gas emissions, which are directly tied to human activities as well. And these activities have significant consequences for the Earth's natural resources, atmosphere, water system, soil, and living organisms. At the same time, global and local conflict are intensifying both human and food security, with particularly devastating effects on rural and agricultural communities. To mitigate this effect, it's vital for us to bolster the resilience of our food and agricultural systems. And this action will provide essential support to the most vulnerable populations, ensuring their continued access to natural resources and food supply chains. These efforts are critical components of recovery, rehabilitation, reconstruction initiatives. Now, the structure of the meeting was organized in a way that the final conclusion was a shared declaration of the ministers with a number of items that were shared at the beginning, considering considerations and concerns that related to the area of reference, and of course environmental issues, aspects related to natural resources, as I mentioned, and particularly aspects related to food loss and wastes. We also have stressed the growing needs, the growing food needs, the instability, the reduction of the waste, is the women issues, the youth engagement, and the new labor vocations and nutritional imbalances. So a number of aspects that were, at the beginning of the main consideration in order to structure the event. Of course, we have recalled, several of you have mentioned some of the actions and initiatives that we had in the last period. And therefore, the UN Agenda 2030, the food summits, the COP28 before, the Matera G20, the G7 in Syracuse communique that was very relevant for our scope. In this context, we consider at the beginning the role of the regional solidarity in reducing inequalities, which is an aspect that's very important for us. The need to stabilize the market, to contribute to preserve terrestrial, marine, and coastal resources. And of course, into that, the role of lifelong education and training, which should be more adapted to the needs of the private sector, the multi-stakeholder ecosystem, research, university, institutions, private companies, and the environment, in the quintuple type of helix, as we mentioned today, which are capable of identifying local and global needs, creating new employment opportunities for younger generation, and so on. So in the structure of the declaration, and therefore the heart of the meeting was devoted to the action that we propose as CM to the minister in order to have a comprehensive, collaborative, and approach with respect to the Mediterranean region. And these are the promotion of capacity building, training and educational programs at various levels. Sorry I have a problem with the voice today. Advanced and specialized courses, and this is the action that we care most, the Master and Master of Science program in the field of the agri-food systems, with a strong attention to water and soil and biodiversity in particular. Other aspect very important, the scientific research, and through the numerous research projects that we lead, especially in the field of soil water relationship management, fertility we have today, and the action through scientific diplomacy. The role of cooperation regional development by promoting synergies between the public institution, the private sector, and the civil society. And this for us is extremely important as approach. This to facilitate exchange of good practices between Mediterranean countries and the resilient approaches to face climate change, or support to women in social environmental transition in rural areas, among others. The contribution to lead platforms for dialogue and strategic cooperation, which enable the sharing of data. Also, this was mentioned several times today, expertise and knowledge to meet the urgent and emerging needs of the Mediterranean countries in terms of food security and sovereignty. This is what CM is able to offer to the communities of the Mediterranean, especially to the country, coming up with the minister. So closing, the urgency of the situation demands a renewed commitment to dialogue and cooperation among the Mediterranean countries. The ministerial meeting serves as a crucial platform to prioritize agriculture, food security, and rural development. And through collaborative effort, we can foster knowledge exchange, expertise sharing, and concrete solutions to address our shared challenges. More than ever, we must recognize the Mediterranean context necessitates a dedicated space for dialogue on food security. And this dialogue is essential for effective cooperation, knowledge transfer, expertise sharing, enabling us to confront our common problems and concern collectively. And for this reason, we are already starting to launch the next initiative of the Mediterranean meeting of the Minister of Agriculture that will be probably held in 2 years from now, but we will start working actively in this field. And of course, soil and natural resources will be at the center of our action. Thank you very much. Sorry for being long.
Thank you, Teodoro. Thank you, Ellen, as well. Thank you, Siam. Really great report from the Mediterranean region. Thank you for taking us there and for reinforcing the importance of this region and really what is happening there as well. So we appreciate that, and we're going to now go to the next speaker, which is Claudia Shep, Dr. Claudia Shep, Scientific Director of the 4 per 1,000 initiative. Welcome, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Cecilia, for this kind introduction. Let me quickly try to share my screen. Here we go. I hope you can see just an illustration of what I'm going to talk about now. I would just like to give you a very brief outlook to one of our plans, and it's really just a plan at the moment for next year. So moving climates a little bit, we are planning to have one of the regional meetings focusing on temperate climate regions. And as our Secretary of State has already announced, the German Federal Ministry for Food and Agriculture has offered to host that meeting. So it will be a meeting in Berlin. The dates are not quite set yet, probably towards autumn, but stay tuned. We will confirm that once it has been decided. And it will be a conference focusing on, of course, soil health and soil carbon sequestration in temperate climates. And as always, what's at the heart of the regional meetings, bringing together different stakeholders and foster mutual understanding around those issues. And I think we can especially look forward to be benefiting from experiences from several model and demonstration sites under the Federal Humus Program of Germany, which can contribute to the program of these days. And hopefully, but I also put that in brackets, we might also have a chance to visit one of those demonstration sites during an excursion at the end of the conference. So this just is a very quick teaser. We will keep you updated on the developments regarding this conference, but let me say we're already looking forward to welcoming you in Berlin next year. And yes, with that, back to you, Cecilia, and thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. We'll stay tuned to hear more about the final dates. And also, thank you for all your work. You're always working, traveling, being at meetings. So thank you so much for representing 4 per 1,000. We appreciate all your work. And next, our next guest is Dr. Beata Madari, Research and Development Scientist, member of the 4 per 1,000 Soil Carbon IRC STC, and also part of Embrapa, which is the Empresa Brasileira de Pesquisa Agropecuaria, or the Brazilian Agricultural Research Organization. Beata, the floor is yours.
Yes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about our meeting, regional meeting, the Latin American and Caribbean Soil Carbon Research Symposium, which is promoted and co-funded by the 4 per 1,000 Initiative and the Soil Carbon Research and the Soil Carbon International Research Consortium. It is organized by Embrapa, the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation, the Federal University of Goiás, the Center for Carbon Research in Tropical Agriculture, and a network association for integrated crop livestock forestry systems. So as you see, we will have this meeting in June, last week of June, from 25 to 28 in 2025. Okay? And we will have the registrations and abstract submissions open on the 15th of December. So please save this date and submit abstracts and come to the event. So very quickly, our scientific program will include soil and agricultural management systems that promote carbon sequestration, soil health, and the overall mitigation.
Sorry, Beata, can you change the slide? We can always see the same slide.
Okay, I did, but then you can?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So we will have presentations and roundtable discussions in these topics. Soil and agricultural management systems that promote carbon sequestration, soil health, and the overall mitigation and adaptation in the context of climate change, soil carbon monitoring, reporting and verification, carbon markets and certification, and also we will talk about public policies, worldwide public policies that promote climate change mitigation and adaptation in agriculture and soil carbon sequestration. We will have a field day as well, a whole day field day in the Atlantic Forest region. It's a mountainous region. We will go an old coffee farm in a very degraded state at the moment, but there is an experiment there by Embrapa institutions who are trying to revitalize this area using integrated livestock for assistance for dairy cattle. So I hope you will be interested, and we are welcoming not only participants from Latin America and the Caribbean, but from all over the world. So if you are interested, please come, and we hope we will be able to welcome you to Rio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beata. Thank you for the invitation. June 25 to 28th. We'll look to that. We'll let our networks know as well. And also for December the 15th for the submission of abstracts. So thank you very much. We're almost ready. We just have a few more speakers. The next one is Mr. Thierry Alban-Rebert from the 4.1000 Southern Africa Regional Conference. He's part of SACANI, which is the South African Comprehensive Agroecology National Initiative. It's a non-governmental organization based in Johannesburg. We would like to hear more from Mr. Thierry Alban-Rebert. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Paul, for pushing us to get going to propose something specially. First of all, it is an historical time for us to propose such an event because Mr. Le Foll came to South Africa in 2015 and he signed a cooperation agreement between the French Department of Agriculture and South African Department of Agriculture. And I was very honored to be part of the signatory because I facilitated the fact that is signed. And then we took very much direction to promote agroecology because France, for us, was the pioneer in Europe about a transition to agroecology. So basically, the base of agroecology, it is soil health and wealth. Maybe I'm using poetry, but it's not poetry. It's a moment you got soil health, you have also wealth coming in. So what we are proposing, first of all, is that we are going to be concentrating on two very, very, very big areas. The first one is to actually push the youth in South Africa because we have an enormous amount of youth that are totally unemployed, and we want to use that opportunity to bring them back to the soil, back to the land, and back to food sovereignty, etc. So this conference next year will be focused on the youth, and the second focus will be on indigenous people with an African Renaissance aspect to it. So obviously, this is going to be the choice that we have is of a venue is very famous in the world, but maybe not all of you know, no one of you knows. It's called the Cradle of Humankind. This is where all the humankind has started in the world. So we are partnering with the Cradle of Humankind and UNESCO. And this is a venue that is going to be welcoming the conference. We have been pushed by most of the African countries, especially after the G20, to actually be invited. So it will be an open, the regional thing will be an open to other invitation. So it means that we've got the SADC countries, you know, the SADC countries are Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Swaziland, Lesotho, etc., etc. But we will invite the rest of Africa, and we want to turn that conference into an absolute tradition, heritage, and culture, where we will have a lot of entertainment by traditional dancing and things like this. we also want to show in the country and the rest of the world that we have a very typical cattle in South Africa, both cattle like cows, but also sheep and goats and chickens, which are indigenous. They are not staying in broilers and they are white or brown. They are very, and so we want to take that opportunity to actually make that conference very much of an event where people start to understand the context of South Africa, because South Africa comes out of an extremely difficult period. For about 48 years. We lived under a system called apartheid, and some of us, we were not very happy with it, so we got involved into doing a couple of liberating operations. And so basically, also there, we will show that the apartheid has left us a huge legacy, where there is a big difference between the agri-business, that is big exporters, very few of them, and then a whole population of small-scale farmers who are actually disempowered, because despite the fact that we have a land reform policy, it's very difficult. So because of that, and I was extremely impressed by a lot of the speakers who are putting the same focus on skills and enterprise development. And what we're going to offer, and this is why I want to thank Paul, who actually at every time we had a meeting, he sort of very quickly pushed in that agenda. We are going to be opening one model region close to the cradle of humankind, where we're going to open 7 centers of excellence, which are going to be situated along the value chain of agroecology, which will start with the land and the soil. And then it will evolve to many other things like water, energy, eco-construction, and all sorts of other things. So basically, I want to tell you that we've got a massive support from national government, provincial government, and then also a number of associations like the Agricultural Research Council. But our main partner, IFSAGRI. IFSAGRI is that Institute of French-South African Cooperation in Agriculture, which is headed by a brilliant young woman called Dr. Séverine Jaloustre. And the two of us, we're working very much closer. And then we are going to be on the private sector, concentrating on getting the big French corporations operating in South Africa, because everybody believes that being in South Africa, you can go and colonize the rest of Africa. I mean, it's a special language. But so we've got all these big companies who are interested to come and support that event. Last one, because I know I've got only 3 minutes and I'm very, what you call disciplined, because I'm a Shaolin Kung Fu guy. So, and the most important thing is that the person that actually organized one of the biggest conference in South Africa, that was the HIV/AIDS conference in 2010, in 2000, sorry, she will be roped in to put a team of event and a team of specialized in conferencing, a transversal, vertical, integrated type of thing. So we are very, very, very confident that we're going to offer 4 per thousand. It's a very difficult word to pronounce for me. Paul, I want you to make a special event for your 10 years. I don't know, maybe you can grow some hair on your head or something like that, or put a wig, an African wig. I'm joking, but we are doing this because I think for your organization, which I've been following very closely without saying much, because I put efforts into communities all the time, our organization. So we want you really to think about something extremely special. And one of the things we want to offer you is that Mr. Barker on the IOV is on the wine. Am I right? Okay, so you know that the French are very important in South Africa in terms of the wine, because as the Huguenots, they introduced the wine in South Africa. And we partner with South African wines in terms of the soil and their transition to agroecology. So if you like wine, Paul and your team, Ercilia and everybody, we will make sure that the SA wine will be serving superb wines during that conference. And there will be demonstration, tasting, and we're quite good. South African,
we are supposed to work in conference, but thank you very much for this proposition. So Thierry, please send us your presentation, because we check we do not have this presentation, and we will put it in the video like that. Your screen will be fully occupied by your slide. Thank you very much.
Do you want to send it to you now?
Yes, whenever you will have time this week.
Okay, this week. Okay, and then also, Paul, thank you for giving me the framework presentation of Rabat and also of that Asian thing. So I've already communicated with my team. We're starting to work on this. So the soonest you can receive a proposal from us following that format that you gave us, we will do that. Okay, so thank you very much, and really totally chuffed, and thanking you guys to do such an incredible work. Thank you.
Thank you, Thierry. We appreciate your work, and whenever we have the slides, we'll put in the presentation, but your words were very important and enough good of a presentation. Well, we're almost there. Paul, I'll let you bring up two more activities and reports, please.
Yes, I will be brief. So just to let you know that I just came back from Baku, where I was there for the 4 per Mille initiative for the COP29, of course, of UNFCCC. Just I was impressed by the fact that there were a lot of pavilions over there in the delegation zone, and half of those pavilions were country or regional pavilion, and I would say that 10% of the non-national or non-regional pavilion were for agriculture. So, which is quite interesting. It's not a huge number, but it's quite significant. And it means that we are talking more and more about agriculture, soil during these climate COPs. And we can see that there are some progress on the Article 6 that will allow the developed country to help more the developing country to finance the action in the south. There is this question, this pledge of $300 billion instead of 100 billion before. So we hope that we will reach that figure. And also there were also some progress in terms of the installation and the work of the Charmel Chair joint work on agriculture and food system. So that was one of the three main points. But I wanted to say that I was very pleased to participate to at least 12 side events during the 4 days I was there, the 4 days, yes, as moderator, as speaker, or as a participant. And we had a very good relation with the Safe Soil Movement, SECEM, our friend from Future Economic Forum, Food Tank, Coalition Cash, and Coalition on Agroecology, as well as BAIF and British Soil Science Society. We organize things together. And among the very important things, we organized with SECEM and Safe Soil Movement a policy brief was called Securing Our Future, Making Climate Finance Work for Agricultural Soil that I mentioned before. And there were already more than 80 organizations who endorsed this document, and it was presented towards the side event during the COP. And so I hope that you will be more numerous to join us for this policy brief. So it make me the link with the COP16 in Riyadh that was already announced by Louise Baker and some other speakers. The 4 per Mille initiative with Claudia and me will be present during the COP. I will be there personally between the 4th and the 10th of December. This UNFCCC COP should be one of the main reference COP. That's the intention of Saudi Arabia and also of the UNCCD. And we hope that this will be the case, bringing agriculture, soil health, and land health at the very top of the agenda. We are coordinating a lot of side events during that period of time with IRD, CIRAD, Safe Soil Movement, UNCCD, Change Now, NCVS, EUIF, CGR, Healthfulness Institute, etc. So we are producing with Safe Soil another policy brief that I already announced, which is called Expanding Scope of Land Restoration to impact all geography. This question is very important because we need to concentrate also not only on desertification or desertified land, but also the one that are already affected by land and soil degradation in order to save them and being able to keep them in a productive part. So we will be there, and we hope that we will be numerous to participate to all those events. And to conclude, this leads me to the last one, which is the COP30 in Belém, announced for next year, 10 to 20 November 2025. Then it was already said by several members, 2025 will be a special year for us because it will be our 10th anniversary of the 4 per Mille initiative. We hope that we will be able all along the year to organize some special events. We hope to organize one during Change Now meeting in Paris in April. We hope to have one also in Rio for this regional meeting with Latin America. We just heard Thierry hoping to organize something also in Southern Africa. We know that if we have this conference in Berlin, it will be also an important part of this celebration. And of course, we will finish by Belém and hope that we have maximum of friends around us to celebrate that time. But we need to work hard until that period of time. We will organize the 9th day of the 4 per Mille initiative there. If you have any idea about what could be a best way to celebrate that 10th anniversary without being also too much in the festive part, but also in the working part, so please send us some proposal, and we will try to follow you, organizing webinar, organizing meetings or whatever. Thank you very much, Celia. Thank you. And this is my last word for today, and we'll meet you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you to all speakers, panelists, to everyone who tuned in for these 3 hours of this 8th day of the 4 per 1,000 initiative, the 9th Forum of the Partners, Soil Health and Organic Carbon, Measure and Assessment for Scaling Up Good Practices. This is a work from the heart. Everyone who is here is committed, has a lot of passion. So we encourage you to participate, to take action, to bring your ideas to the table and be part of this. It's a celebration. It's not 10, but it's 9 years, and that's not minor. So a big, pat in the back and congratulations to everyone who has made this possible. We'll see you tomorrow at the consortium of members. Have a great day, and thank you again for being part of the 4 per 1,000 initiative. An honor being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone, and thank you very much for that excellence in your handling, Ercilia in particular, and everybody else. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Okay.